Ladies and gentlemen, they're at it again. They'll never stop. They'll never learn. They'll never change. One would think that failed narratives eventually just fizzle out and people realize, hey, you know what? Trump didn't work with Russia, and nobody cares. That's the most important issue here. Nobody cares. Everyone knows Democrats lost. Not everybody knows that Hillary Clinton will be nominee again. She will be nominee. That debate stage was an abomination. By the way, when I said, really quickly, I changed the profile of this channel to one of my recent, if you look at the photo, it changed from an old article I wrote in 2015 to now an article in 2019 I wrote, why Bernie supporters should vote Trump 2020. So anyway, tell me what you think. The channel, the storefront of the channel, or whatever however you describe it, has changed. So tell me what you think. But anyway, one would think the Democratic Party would realize that nobody cares, that nobody even trusts these intelligence chiefs. You can look at the Bay of Pigs, colossal intelligence failure, Pearl Harbor prior to that. But the Bay of Pigs, the Gulf of Tonkin, you can look at the failure to predict the fall of the Berlin Wall, and there were intelligence failures in between then. You can look at, the Tet Offensive was an intelligence failure. You can look at all different, even before, Bush's failed endeavors, failed foreign policy and interventions, and what preceded that, the most horrific day in U.S. history that I can't even talk about on YouTube. That was an intelligence failure. So these intelligence chiefs demand reverence. They failed with Bush. They failed prior to Bush. They failed to protect the DNC from a massive Facebook campaign. And now they're saying again that Russia wants Trump reelected. And the interesting thing is Trump's own intelligence. Okay, so senior intelligence officials told lawmakers that Russia wants to see Trump reelected. What do I care if Russia wants to see Trump reelected or China wants to see the Democrats reelected? What do I care? It's totally irrelevant. This is the Washington Post. This is another failed strategy by Democrats. The average American only cares about making money for his or her family. That's it. And living a good life. If the economy is good in any country, that's the standard by which you judge a leader. That's the most important standard by which you judge any leader. If the economy is good, if people are working, if unemployment is low, if wages are rising, if millions of people are being lifted out of poverty. 5 million people have been lifted out of poverty since President Trump has been in office. Why do you think I'm wearing this shirt? I already wore the No Malarkey shirt, which is, and then I'm with her. Hillary Clinton will be the nominee. But President Trump's a great president. The average American doesn't care about Russian interference, which is a euphemism for Democratic corruption being publicized. That's it. The DNC emails forced Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign, but here, we can go on forever. They're back at it again. What do you want me to say? They're back at it again. They're back at it again. They'll never stop because they can't stop, and they won't stop. The Washington Post, senior intelligence officials told lawmakers that Russia wants to see Trump reelected. I don't give a... I don't care. Nobody cares. Like that old meme, cartoon, I don't care. It's the same phone. I don't care. It's even a better phone. I don't care. I want iPhone. It's like nobody cares. Senior intelligence officials told lawmakers that Russia wants to see Trump reelected. So we're supposed to vote for Hillary Clinton? who had servers running outside of the United States government that even Michael Hayden and Robert Gates said were infiltrated by Russia and the whole planet? If you're Putin, who do you fear the most? Trump? If you fear anyone, the guy doesn't fear anyone. Okay? The guy doesn't fear, and he's laughing. He's been laughing for 3 years. He's been laughing because he almost certainly has all of Clinton's emails. She was running a Microsoft Exchange software and top secret intelligence. That's a fantastic combination. Senior intelligence officials told lawmaker that Russia wants to see Trump reelected. I don't care. But anyway, a senior U.S. intelligence official told lawmakers last week that Russia wants to see President Trump reelected, viewing his administration as more favorable to Kremlin interests. After learning of that analysis, which was provided to House lawmakers in a classified briefing, Trump grew angry at his acting director of national intelligence, Joseph Maguire. So that's Richard Grenell is the new ODNI chief. Obviously, this man was still, Dan Coates. You had James Clapper and Dan Coates. Now you have Joseph Maguire. Richard Grenell is a Trump man. He is loyal to Trump. Just like James Clapper was loyal to President Obama. Just like people at Apple were loyal to Steve Jobs. Just like people at Microsoft are loyal to Bill Gates. You don't give your heart and soul to Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, but if you're working for a company, you don't want to play in the softball game of the rival corporation or firm. You just don't want to do that. You're working for one side, so you have a choice in life. You don't have to work for Trump, okay? You don't have to. You could just, join the Democratic Party or whatever, or join, whatever. Join a think tank. You don't have to be Trump's acting director of national intelligence. But let's just say he was so, calling it down the middle, and he wasn't like the Houston Astros, and there was nothing, there were no buzzers within the jerseys, and everything was, he just cared about the country. Any country that looks at U.S. politics and says, okay, this president is less belligerent than his political rivals, well, of course they'd want that president. Do you think China wants Trump, or do you think China wants a Democrat? A Democrat would not engage in tariffs. China obviously wants a Democrat to win. So if Richard Grenell, the new director of national intelligence, says, China wants Democrats, I wouldn't care. I don't care what another country wants, because other countries are going to look and obviously choose the American politician that best serves their national security interests. This isn't a difficult concept to understand. So you still have the remnants of John Brennan and Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper. It's the establishment. It's not just, okay, when I say Clinton's going to run, obviously Clinton's going to run. Democrats are a political machine, but Hillary Clinton represents more than just a political machine in the Democratic Party. She represents establishment Republicans like Max Boot and Bill Kristol. She represents the intelligence chiefs that need to have an adversary at all times. They need to have some kind of monster out there where only they can protect us from that monster. It's very Orwellian. Big Brother needs to have a raison d'être. They need to have some kind of, spooky, scary, frightening adversary out there. Okay, times are pretty good compared to 20 years ago on that fateful day. And compared to all the failed foreign policy interventions of Bush and President Obama, right now times are pretty good. Who knows? We've been asleep at the wheel as a country because of Democrats and media. God forbid something horrendous takes place where we're not asleep at the wheel. We can't afford to be asleep at the wheel anymore. But if your focus in life is DNC emails, you're an imbecile. You have a major problem in your life if you think DNC emails are national security. And the Democratic Party could be hacked, allegedly, 1 million times, and it still wouldn't be national security. The DNC is a private political entity. Their attorneys stated they could pick their nominee in a smoke-filled back room, just like the 1800s. They don't care. So Hillary Clinton's going to be nominee because what they're guilty of, they've tried to project upon Trump. It hasn't worked. Nobody cares. Do you understand that nobody cares? Do you understand that Democrats are dissolving? They are going to implode. Here's the thing. They're going to roll with Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton again. Bernie he's being cheated. I can go on for about 45 minutes explaining how Bernie is being cheated. When people say Bloomberg lost, he achieved his objective of differentiating himself from Sanders and Warren and everyone else there. He stated he was the only person who started a company, and he didn't really care what, all the shrieking and condemnation. He doesn't care. He's got 50 billion, 60 billion, whatever. He doesn't care. If he spent all 70 billion or whatever, he still wouldn't be president. But still, on that debate stage, you think he really cares? He's like, yeah, whatever. Obviously, he's. If you watched paint dry, it's more interesting than listening to Bloomberg. Politically, he's horrendous. If you measured his net worth through politics, he'd have a negative net worth. He'd be in debt tremendously. But the point is, he's there to fund Clinton and to fund the Democratic Party until he gives his pledged delegates to Clinton. You think Bloomberg wants to run? He just showed up, and he's going to get those delegates anyway. Because he showed up, and he said, look, I'm different, and I'm the new Biden, so vote for me. That's it. That's why he won. Or at least he achieved his objective. You don't think he won? He achieved his objective. Believe me. You think that he really cared about Warren or Bernie or Biden or Klobuchar or Mayor Pete going after him? He easily couldn't care less. He wanted to simply be there because Clinton's not there. When she sparks up, the campaign again, whether it's the day of the nomination or before, she will wrap it up. Hillary Clinton is the only person who could unite the Democratic Party, the dysfunctional, disingenuous, duplicitous bunch of imbeciles who have utter contempt for one another. They can't stand one another. Okay, the average Democrat, and I say this as a former Bernie supporter, I can tell you, the average Democrat despises Bernie Sanders with every ounce of their being. They just really don't like Trump. They really can't stand Trump. And Trump, they have Trump derangement syndrome. But they don't look at Trump as an existential threat. Because Trump is so vastly different from them that they look at him as just this buffoon that barely won because of Russian interference, and his personality grates at them like nails on a chalkboard. But Bernie Sanders is an existential threat. Bernie Sanders represents, to them, the end of the Democratic Party. So if they were really interested in Bernie being the frontrunner, A, they wouldn't have cheated him, and B, they would have passed Medicare for All. Simply saying that the Senate controls... Who cares if the Senate is run by Republicans? Who cares? If Medicare for All and a Green New Deal legislation, not resolution, and abolishing ICE and student loan forgiveness, all this, if all of these policies were so important, they would have passed them. And they would have told the American people, look, We passed this legislation, and look what Republicans have done. We passed this legislation, and look what Republicans have done. They've prevented us from helping you. They could have easily run on that in 2020. There are enough people who can't stand this or Trump. There are enough people for Hillary Clinton to say, look, Russia wants Trump. And there are enough people who will get her way over 60 million votes. She'll still lose. Clinton's going to be the nominee. They're at it again. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right this second. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon link is below in the pinned comment and the description. Thank you.